Views on the nature of language, competence versus performance. Now, there are also differences in researchers in terms of how language should be viewed. So, is language the words that you hear from other people? Is it related to performance? Performance means the actual use of language, or should we pay attention more to competence? So competence is the abstract and hidden representation of language that is in your mind. Now, to see this difference, think about a situation when you speak a language and you might make some errors. However, you do know the answer in your mind. But given the socio-cultural context, the anxiety that you're feeling at that time, or maybe just a slip of tongue, you do not fully express or say it properly, there are errors in your language at that given time. So this is the difference between performance and competence. And this is the difference that is stressed by Noam Chomsky, who is he's a very renowned linguist. And he said that if you want to study language, the focus should be on competence. What is actually the learner knows about a language rather than his or her performance, that is, the way he or she speaks. Now, how would research on these two aspects would be different? So, if you are interested in analyzing how people actually speak and what is the language output of your students, then you are more interested in the performance side of second language acquisition. And if you are more interested in theorizing how language has been stored in the minds of the learners, and then you are more interested on the competence. So an example again in these two will be, so if you look at the examination papers that your students do, so the examination is not reflective of the actual learning that the student has achieved in terms of performance, because there might be certain factors that have affected the way that person has written the language-based answers. The competence of a child might be greater than his or her performance. But there is a problem over here, which is that competence is not easy to research because it is in the mind of the learners. So Noam Chomsky would say, and he emphasized it during his very rich career in languages, that language performance data, that is, when you analyze only what is out there, what is spoken, then it is an imperfect reflection of competence. It does not really show how much a person actually knows second language, but it is only a little sample of what a person knows or how much a language has been learned, and that also is an imperfect sample. So the problem that we were talking about competence is, if we do not focus on performance and we say, all right, a child, when he or she speaks a language, knows more than what is reflected in the use of the language, then we come to the competence. But how do you measure competence? The problem is that can be measured only indirectly. That is, under some experimental conditions, and it is done with wide-ranging tests. So there are others who reject this distinction made by Chomsky, and they say it is not necessary. So when you talk about language learning, you talk about language learning as such. So you can also use what is called corpus linguistics, that is lists and lists of words that the computer can generate, and you can have this theoretical analysis of what is there in the child's mind, as well as the performance data. So there are different ways in also to integrate these two perspectives, while there are some researchers like Firth who say these are just not important.